Hello. It's cold in my house because I have no heat. Hello everybody. Welcome to another reading vlog that I don't know when it's going to go out or how it's going to go, but I hit a wall. And I hit a pretty hard wall because I was doing so well that I surpassed my Goodreads goal of 50 books. I think I've read 61 so far, and I was like, I'm gonna hit 100 this year. Like it's gonna be the first time ever. It still is the most books I've read in a year since I started keeping track via the Goodreads reading challenge. But we are halfway through November, and I could count on one hand the amount of books I read since my last vlog that I did. I figured, let's vlog. Why not? Let's vlog this experience of having no heat in my house. I am getting heat very soon. Wednesday. It is currently Sunday, which also I figured is the start of a new week, so let's do our weekly reading vlogs again, or just a vlog. I'm getting heat on Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. Hopefully it'll be done and put in and everything that day. Anyway, updates. I mentioned I've been writing. I mentioned before that I started writing a book. I'm still plugging away at that. I'm probably at, last time I checked, it was about 23,000 words, maybe. I started like chapter 9 or something. I'm still kind of it's in the phase of being, let me see if I can do this. But I've talked about that in previous vlogs before. I know there was a vlog, I don't remember if it's the vlog that I scrapped or not, where I talk about it more in depth. So I don't remember, but it's still a work in progress. It's still very much just a passion project. And again, I just want to see if I can do it sort of things. But it takes up a lot of my time. And I have it in a Google Doc, so I can open it kind of wherever I want. But so I have that, and then I did finish. If you watch my Alabama vlog, which I'm going to make sure that goes up before this because I'm talking about it, so I could want to be able to link it. I do mention books that I was in the middle of and that I bought while I was in Alabama, books that I brought with me to read. So I'm just going to kind of reiterate. And so if you don't want to watch that or don't care, I'm going to reiterate some of the things. I have not finished, I think I finished one of the books that I brought with me to Alabama. I brought with me like 4 different books. One of them I didn't even start, so I'm not going to bother. It was my book of the month for October. I didn't even start it. I just brought it along just in case I was in the mood for it. I am still reading Raphael by Tilly Cole. I haven't gotten any further with that. I am still reading The Ravenous Dead by Darcy Coates. I brought something else. I think this was the physical book. Oh, Etna, which was a nonfiction book. Etna, A Murder Out of Time. I brought with me. That one I finished because I had to finish it for a signing. I rated it 4 stars. That was fun. It was just a small little signing. And yeah, I finished that. Then on the way home, we drove to Alabama. I drove with my cousin's husband. We'd listen to mostly like talk radio. The Blaze is what they listen to. So we listened to that and we just kind of had conversation the entire 13 hour ride. The way home, I drove back with my cousin and her husband drove separately. She's an audiobook listener, but I didn't really like her choices. No offense. Like, it's just stuff that I don't normally read. So I was like, can we read one of mine? And she goes, sure. So I picked Forget Me Not by QB Tyler, which was like a 9-ish hour audiobook. And I listen to audiobooks on 2 times speed. And her one compromise was like, we cannot listen to it on 2 times speed. Like, we need to listen to it on a normal speed. So I had to listen to it on average 1 time speed. So it took us 9 hours to finish. But we read that. And y'all know the books I typically read. I've told people, like, okay, my stuff is like not, I like romance, but it's not like your normal average romance. Like, I like dark romance. This Forget Me Not by QB Tyler is more tame. But there are some spicy scenes that I was kind of like, okay, well, this is gonna happen. And she was laughing because of the word choice that the author uses to describe things. And I mean, yes, it's funny, but like, I'm just so used to it that I don't see it as anything like strange or awkward or weird because that's just what I'm used to reading. For having someone else like listen to it with me, I'm just kind of like, okay. So I did Forget Me Not by QT Child. I gave 4 stars. I know Jess or a lot of people love this book. Like it's like their favorite book, and I'm just like, it was fine. It was a second chance amnesia, marriage in trouble sort of thing. Like they're on the cusp of divorce. He had into an accident and loses the last 2 years of his life and doesn't remember cheating on his wife. And he's like, I would never do that. What is like what? And she's of course not telling him the entire story of what happened. His girlfriend's still like in the picture and is like word, and he's like, who the hell are you? Like, get away from me. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, I would never do this to my wife. And it's just a whole thing. And then at the end, naturally he regains his memories, but there was some kind of issue with that I was like, okay. Like, I just wasn't a fan of how that kind of went. But it was all right. It was 4 stars. It was a nice time to kill. It was 9 hours of time for a 12-hour trip. So, and of course with the stops and stuff, like we pretty much finished it like an hour outside of my outside home because of all the stops stuff we had to make. But anyway, so I essentially read 2 books on vacation, which was pretty good. And then I, on a whim, started Beautifully Broken Life by Catherine Cowles, which is the second book of her Sutter Lake series. I loved this one. I gave it 5 stars. This one is a girl on the run. Her husband was abusive. No one believed her that he was abusive. She went to the, he had like a, he was like he had like he was like had an in with the police, and he was like this upstanding dude, and no one believed her that he was abusive like he was. So she runs off. He is super controlling and sends someone after her to find her, and it's like this whole thing. And then our hero is, I want to say Logan. Starts with an L. Might be Liam. Don't remember. He is the friend of the heroine from the first book, and he's a rock star who's been having this trouble getting his writing muse, and there's an issue with a like stalker, like a stalking fan thing. I don't know. It was good. I enjoyed it. Again, 5 stars. And then that's pretty much, I think, the books I recently finished. I don't remember there's 2 other ones here. I know I read Beautifully Broken Pieces, which is the first book of the Sutter Lake series. I give that 4 stars. I finished that the middle of October. I don't remember the last time I did a vlog, so that one was 4 stars. I read The Witch's Wolves by Ellie Mae McGregor. I gave that 3 stars. It was a novella. I read that right after I read the 3rd book of the Wolf Hotel series, so I have no idea. I don't even think they were in blogs. They were just books that were, I think Witch's Wolves is supposed to be for a readathon that I never finished or got to because I hit that slump. So I probably read about 4 books since the last vlog that I was gonna do. Like I said, I don't remember. Y'all can go back and look. But that's pretty much my update of where I'm at. I did, currently reading wise, aside from the ones that I put down, listening to, Twisted Emotions by Cora Riley, which is the second book of the... Is that the Kimura Chronicles? Maybe? I think it's the Kimura Chronicles. I forget what the hell I'm reading. The first book was Twisted Loyalty. Yes, the Kimura Chronicles. Because the first book is Twisted Loyalty, second with Fabiano and Leona, which I read over the summer. And then I started Twisted Emotions at work. I've been listening to it at work mostly. And that one is Nino and Kiara. And this one's really good too. It's another, the heroine was abused when she was a child. She was molested as a child, sexually assaulted as a child by a relative, and then is given to the rival family to help their issues. And apparently they have a bloody sheet ritual. Not them, but her family has a bloody sheet ritual because they only do like virgins, and she's not a virgin, so she's like terrified that her husband is going to find out that she's not a virgin and just all hell break loose. But he doesn't have that ritual, and he doesn't really care. He doesn't really also experience emotions because he's like a sociopath. But when he finds out on their wedding night, like, why she is so terrified of him, he kills the person who hurt her, and their bloody ritual becomes, he does it as an example, like, this is what happens. So that's pretty much like as far as I am right now. It's really good. I really am enjoying that series. And then I'm also in the middle of reading Immaculate Deception by Nicole Fox. This was a book that I just kind of randomly found as a Facebook ad, and it's a unexpected pregnancy trope, but like very in the very beginning, like he is the head of the Bratva, and he gets hurt one night and stumbles into her vet clinic, and she patches him up. They have a one night stand. He disappears. She never sees his face because he's always hooded and it's dark. And then she finds out she's pregnant and has no idea who the father is. I mean, like, she knows who it is, but like doesn't know his name or what he looks like or anything like that. So she's like, well, I'm just gonna do this by myself. And then she's on the side of the road to the hospital, and she is like in like active labor on the side of the road, and he approaches her to steal her vehicle, and then realizes that this is a woman giving birth in the back seat, and it happens to be the woman he had the one night stand with, 9 months ago. It's wild. Like, it's totally like you have to suspend your belief on it. But it's interesting. And then they're on the run because he is being targeted by his own men who are like challenging his claim as the head of the Bratva. And now he has, because he doesn't have like an heir, and now he realizes that, this kid is his, and this is his heir, and he has to protect him. Like, the whole thing. There's just like nonstop. I don't even know how far I am. I'm like about halfway through. It's like 400 pages. I'm listening to it on ebook, but not listening to it. Reading it through ebook. It's a time. I was just in it just because I'm a big sucker for unexpected pregnancy sort of stuff. So, but it kept me, I read like 30% of it in one sitting because I was just like, what is happening? Like, this is actually really entertaining, and it's not like, the greatest thing I've ever read, but it's entertaining, and it keeps me invested. I'll say that much. So yeah, so that's what I'm currently in the middle of doing. What else? Oh, so I ordered these while I was away in Alabama because I saw, Jen from the Book Refuge was using these in like her posts for Instagram, and I was like, those are really cool. I need my own set. So I actually got these from Etsy. They're from Lila June Co. They are trope tarot cards, and they're so cool. I think there's 3 different sets, so I got all 3 sets. I do want to look at some of her other stuff because I saw Jess from Pieces of Books had one that said Cowboy Romance, and it was like this sort of same style but in a sweatshirt, and I'm like, ooh, that's really cool. So I'm just gonna go through them. I'm already been talking for 20 minutes, but y'all know how I roll, so it's been a while. So we have Taboo Romance, we have Paranormal Romance, MC Romance, got Forbidden Romance, Fantasy Romance, Age Gap, one of my all-time favorites, Grumpy Sunshine Trope, Enemies to Lovers, Dark Romance, Mafia Romance, Reverse Harem, which I haven't read. I think I've read like one of. I haven't read a lot. I do have Lady of Brooksgrave Manor I need to read. That's a Reverse Harem. My camera's gonna die. We got Friends to Lovers, Second Chance, Single Dad Romance. We got A Slow Burn. We've got Small Town Romance, Accidental Pregnancy, again one of my absolute favorites, Fake Dating, and the Who Hurt You trope, which is another one, especially when it's Damaged Hero. So anyway, I'm gonna go get this thing on the charger so I can do updates later on. I'm going to, I don't know how this is going to work this week. It's just going to be kind of a mishmash of whatever, and me freezing my titties off until hopefully I have heat on Wednesday. So I'll update you guys when I have something to update about. Bye! We have heat. It's super loud. I'm sure you can hear it. I have forced hot air heat It's very loud. It's a lot louder than the old furnace, but the guy said because my old furnace was so damn old, it was a lower BTU and they couldn't even find a new furnace with the same BTU, so this is a higher BTU, and the fan speed apparently is higher. I don't know, he said if it gets to be annoying that they can come back and lower the fan speed, but honestly, at the moment, I'm just happy to have heat, and I'm used to having the white noise of the old furnace normally anyway, so it doesn't bother me, but it's only been about an hour, so we'll see. I also have a brand new thermostat, which may not look anything fancy to you, but to me, in this old ass house, I have one of the ones that the dial ones that you spin, and it goes by like, I don't know, when you take the cover off, there's like a little vial inside of it. So I don't know how it worked exactly, but it was old. It did work. But now this one is digital, which is also kind of worrisome because then, you know, it could break, but the other one could have broken too. But I've been in this house for 30 years and it hadn't broken yet. So, yeah, we got a new furnace. Exciting. It's warm in here now. I can finally unplug the electric blanket, take some layers off. Anyway, it's Wednesday. It's the day before Thanksgiving. I'm giving you an update. I don't think I really got any further with anything. Ooh, it is so much colder in the kitchen than it is the rest of the house. But anyway, it's the day before Thanksgiving and I am cooking pies for Thanksgiving. I decided that I wanted to do like an apple. Again, still no lighting in the house. That's per usual. I don't even know where to put you guys. Oh, can I put you in the cabinet? Will that work? Maybe I can put you in the cabinet. There we go. That's a decent height. Actually, that's a really good height. Okay, so it is the day before Thanksgiving. As I said, I'm making pies. I am making 3 different kinds, and I'm gonna make them completely homemade, including pie crust, which is not difficult, I know, but I've never made anything. Okay, that's not true. I have made stuff from scratch, but I haven't made a pie crust from scratch. I usually just buy store-bought because I'm lazy. But we're gonna do everything from scratch. So I have a pie crust recipe. We're going to make a apple crumble pie. I really like apple pie, but I also like the crumblies on top. I didn't want to make, I could have made, what do you call it? Apple crumble, or what do you call it? Apple crisp. But I wanted it in like a pie because I have a pie tin that I'm not getting any use ever. So I figured I'm going to use some of my baking stuff. So I have this one that I found online. We're going to try that. And then we're going to give shoe fly pie a second go. The first time I ever made this, I sloshed it all in the bottom of my oven, and it turned out to be a little bit of a disaster. It tasted all right, but it didn't form correctly. So I got another recipe that I'm going to try, and we're going to do round 2 with the shoe fly pie, and hopefully it works out. If y'all don't know what shoe fly pie is, it's a Pennsylvania Dutch thing. Again, I'm from Pennsylvania. Shoe fly pie is like a molasses pie. It's usually wet bottom, and it's super yummy. It's super good. Yeah, the other thing, I don't have the recipe printed out. It's actually on my phone because it's my friend's sister's recipe for a cheesecake. And I couldn't tell you the last time I even attempted to make a cheesecake, probably when I was a teenager. Did it turn out okay? I don't even know. Don't remember. Like I said, I don't usually bake a whole lot, and if I bake from a box. But when I was in Alabama, I did bake something from scratch for dinner that night from a recipe, and it turned out really, really well. So I figured I'm gonna try Thanksgiving. Why not? I did warn the people that I'm going to have Thanksgiving with that they may not receive all of 3 pies depending on how they turn out, but we're gonna give them a try. So I'm gonna get started making some dough. What did I have? I did read more of Immaculate Deception. Can't remember the author's name right now, but it'll be up here. It's going so slow. I feel like this book is a lot longer than it needs to be, and it took a very weird turn at the 50% mark. It went from, okay, like I'm having the child of this leader of the Bratva. He's having his own issues with trying to have a usurper, and then there's all this, and then there's like a whole rival thing with the Albanians, and now all of a sudden, like, she's been kidnapped, and it's like a whole big thing, and I'm just like, what is happening? There's so much going on and so much jam-packed into this book.
So yeah, so I'm about probably maybe 52-ish% into it, working through that. I haven't listened to any more of Twisted Emotions. Maybe I'll do that while I bake, depending on how much focus this is going to require me to. Again, I'm sorry if my heat is super loud, but I forgot to film. I pre-made the pie crust. I have cream cheese on my finger. It's fine. I pre-made the pie crust for the choux pie and the apple pie. Currently, I'm working on the cheesecake. So I'll show you guys. I have my graham cracker crust here, and I actually got to do that thing where you like use the measuring cup to flatten it out. I've always wanted to do that. I've seen so many people do that in so many baking videos. Sorry, my cabinet is open because you guys were sitting in it. So I have that, and then I'm currently working on mixing the filling. So we're gonna do that. I don't think I let the cream cheese sit out long enough. It's not soft enough. But it started to get late and I got impatient. So we're just gonna work with the tough cream cheese. And then I'm sitting out. I have to, the milk has to be and the eggs have to be at room temperature. They have been sitting out for a while. I did have to run to the store to get eggs because I forgot that I thought I had 6 eggs left, and then I forgot I used them to make hollandaise sauce and poached eggs the other day, and I was down to 1 egg and I need 4. So I had to run out and get eggs, which was a disaster. I highly recommend, if you're shopping for Thanksgiving, do not do it the day before, because it's just, traffic is insane. I literally have to go a mile down the road. 1 mile, and the traffic was insane, and the grocery store that I normally go to that is usually not crowded hardly at all was, again, insane. So anyway, we're going to finish this together. So I forgot that the sour cream also had to be room temperature, and that I did not take out of the microwave. So I'm hoping that this batter or this filling will stay while my sour cream comes down in temperature. I don't know. Does it matter if it's cold? Obviously it does, because the recipe says room temperature, but clearly I didn't read thoroughly enough. Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving to those who celebrate. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning. So my furnace, funny story, works fine. Nothing bad happened, but because it's so loud, it kept scaring me awake last night. So I think next week I'm gonna have to, unless maybe it was the first night, so maybe there's still time for me to get used to it, but it scared me awake a lot. So I think I might have to, if that doesn't stop, have to get them to come out and lower the fan speed after all. Anyway, we're back in the kitchen. It's cooking. I took my cheesecake out of the oven and I'm a little disappointed because it cracked. I did follow, my friends did say to put like a little casserole dish of water underneath it to keep it from cracking, which I did, but it still didn't help. So it's cracked. It still looks good. Like the inside still looks yummy. Sorry, my finger was on the record button and it turned it off. But you can see that it looks more like a pie. So I don't have to figure out how to fix that in the future, but I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, so there's that. I'm going to put that in the fridge and I'm going to get started on the apple crumb pie because I got to peel and slice 8 apples. This one takes an hour and 15 minutes to cook. So while that's cooking, I'm going to prep the shoe fly pie, and then by the time all is said and done, I should be done cooking by 10-ish, by 10, 11 o'clock, hopefully, assuming that I don't fuck anything up, which is still possible. It's still early. Anyway, I don't know if I'll do B-roll of this. We'll see. There was a bunch of me doing the cheesecake, and it was just, like, crazy. I don't know. We'll see what happens. All right, so we've thoroughly made a mess, but we're just about with the apple pie in the oven. All I need to do is put the crumble on top, which thankfully came out as it was supposed to. I was getting worried for a little bit. So we're gonna sprinkle it. Says to pat it down, so we're gonna do. I still have so much crumble left. Okay, but anyway, here's our apple crisp pie. We're gonna stick that in the oven. It says at 450 for 15 minutes, and then reduce it to 350 for about 45 minutes. So I'm gonna throw this in, clean up, and then see what we can do about the shoe fly pie. Well, pie turned out, or the apple pie, sorry, be more specific, turned out what looks like it should be okay. It looks like it's good. The shoe fly pie is questionable. I had the same problem that I had last time I tried to make this, where the pie crust didn't quite reach the top of the actual pie tin. So when I put the liquid filling inside of it, it kind of overflowed the top of the crust just a little bit. And then of course, because my oven is old, trying to I slid the rack out. And when I put the shoe fly pie on the rack and trying to slide it smoothly back in doesn't work very well because it's just grated and it just sloshed. It didn't slosh out of the pan, thankfully, but the crumble on the top didn't quite protect it from not being, from the liquid. Because you're supposed to have the crumble like right to the edge of the pan. Didn't work out quite that way, so we got this kind of, I don't know, it looks more like cake now instead of pie. Like this is supposed to be a crumbly top, but it looks like it just kind of, the liquid got wet and absorbed it, so now it's like more like a cake. But the apple crumble actually looks really good. So we'll see. Hope this probably still tastes all right. It's just not quite exactly what it's supposed to be. Also, I have no idea where the pie crust went. I was trying to find it. This one as well, the pie crust is like down. I mean, you can see a little bit of it here, but for the most part, it's like down in the bottom. So that's what I get for trying to make my own pie crust and not rolling it out wide enough. But anyway, yeah, so I'm gonna this has been cooling already for like an hour. I'm gonna let this one cool. While I've been baking this entire time, I have been listening to Twisted Emotions by Cora Riley, which again is the second book of the Kimura Chronicles. It is Nino and Kira's book, and I am loving it so much. I love Nino. He's interesting because he's like a sociopath, so he has like he doesn't show or understand or feel emotions. Like, he understands the kind of scientific psychological thing of emotions, and he can fake it really well, but like he doesn't experience such emotions. And of course, obviously, having the girl is going to break him down. So I'm currently about an hour and 12 minutes left in the audiobook, and listening on 2x speed, that's about maybe 50 minutes or so left. So I'm actually probably going to but I'm gonna listen to this while I get ready. Hello everyone. We're back in the kitchen, but it's Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. I didn't update you guys last night or after I finished baking, I don't think. So the cheesecake turned out really well, really good. The apple pie was amazing. That was probably the best thing I made because I made it correctly. And as I predicted, the shoe fly pie did not turn out correctly because the liquid bottom was absorbed into the crumbly top, which I predicted was going to happen because that's exactly what happened last time. And the homemade crust did not cook through. So it said to put it in an unbaked crust. So I did. Next time I'm probably either going to I'm going to bake the crust first, or I'm going to use a pre-made crust instead of making my own. Just because, I mean, I know crust is really easy to make. I'm not going to try it. If I do attempt the shoe fly pie again, depending on how long from now it is, I'll either decide to try to make it completely from scratch, or I'll use the pre-made pie crust because it was just a fiasco. Anyway, I just wanted to update you guys because I did finish yesterday, like I said I was going to, Twisted Emotions by Cora Riley. I'm giving this, I gave it 4 stars. I don't know. I'm realizing, I've mentioned this in other videos, that when I listen to audiobooks, I tend to give them a lower rating for some reason. I don't know why. I think it's because I don't feel, when I'm physically reading, I get the more emotional, like a bigger emotional impact, if that makes sense, because I'm fully invested, fully paying attention to the story, the characters, what's going on, and the emotion involved. But when I'm listening, I'm usually doing something else while I'm listening. So it's like just playing as background noise, kind of like having the TV on and watching a show in the background. So I don't know, I think it's just a slight disconnect there. So it didn't hit me as I wanted to. I still enjoyed the story. I still enjoy this series as a whole. But I don't know. I gave it probably 4.5. If I was reading it physically, it'd probably be a 5, to be honest. But that's where we're at. I still am working my way through Immaculate Deception. I think I'm like 60, not quite 70% through that book. There's just a lot happening. Like, it just never stops. It's just one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. It's a 400-page book, and I'm like, okay, there's just like a lot going on. It's not bad by any means. There's just like a lot happening, and it's actually, I think it's fairly well written. Like the language and the prose and stuff is really well written. I just think there's just like a lot of plot and interweaving things that are happening. Might be a little bit too much, but we'll see. We'll see how it ends, if I feel the same way. I do have some books to share with you. I did get some book mail. I did get Knotted by Pam Godwin, which is the first book of her Trails of Sin series. I got this off of Pango. It was like super cheap, and I've been wanting to read this series I've been wanting to read Pam Godwin for a really long time. I haven't read any of her stuff yet, but for a girl who grew up loving horses, her favorite show is Heartland. It's surprising to me that I don't read more cowboy romances. Like Elsie Silver writes a lot of books around horse racing, so I want to read her series as well. I think it's Off the Track. I can't remember what the what her series is. So this is, I think, cowboy. I mean, I'm assuming because there's a cowboy on the cover. But I believe this is a trilogy, so I just got the first one to read, and I didn't realize that it was signed. I don't think it mentioned that in the description when I got it, but it was signed, and it comes with this little like promotional card with like all of her books and the series they're in and stuff. So but yeah, I'm really, I kind of wanted like to read this right after I finished Twisted Emotions, or maybe after Immaculate Deception, I don't know, but I'm in the middle of so many books. Like I really just want to finish what I'm currently reading, physically reading, before I pick up any more physical books. Audiobooks are different because I listen to them while I'm at work some days, while I'm doing things, and I can, you know, like I said, do other things and multitask. But physically reading, I keep starting books and not getting interested in them and putting them down, and then just months and months pass by, and I want to stop doing that, even though it just happens to be old habits. Anyway, the other book I picked up just today when I left work is The Perfect Place to Die by Bryce Moore. Now, I didn't know, like I had never heard of this book. My friend, when we put books out there's Tuesday releases, so we put all the new releases out and stuff. Not all of them are new releases, we get, you know, back stock or whatever. But this one but it was sent to us last week, I think. And I was looking at it because there was another book that came out with like a different author, similar vibe though. It was like a murdery book. This one came out in 2021, it says. But it's centered around the H.H. Holmes, the Murder Castle, and the 1890 Chicago World's Fair. Like, I guess our main character, her sister, her younger sister travels to the Chicago World's Fair and disappears without a trace, and our heroine goes to find her. She gets a job working as a maid at a hotel known as the Castle, and then she starts hearing weird noises and things are happening, people disappearing, and discovers that up against one of the most infamous mass murderers in American history and his custom-built death trap. So I'm really interested in seeing how they H.H. Holmes and the Murder Castle, as well as Jack the Ripper, because it's kind of the same era, just different countries. I'm just, a lot of authors will make their own spin on that bit of history, and I'm always interested to see what they do with it because it's fascinating to me. Yeah, so I hope everyone had a fabulous Thanksgiving and ate so much turkey and so many delicious desserts, because this is my first year making them, and I'm glad that 2 out of 3 turned out really well. The flavor in the choux pie was there. It was just that it wasn't what it was supposed to be, but the flavor is still good. So I'll update you guys later, I guess. All right, we are finally back in my library after a very long time of not filming in it. I haven't filmed in here because, well, aside from my slumpy not being in the mood to film, when I had no heat, this room was exceptionally cold. Now there is no like direct heat in here, but it's definitely not as cold as it was, and it's more bearable. So we're in here now with the horrible lighting, and so I'm closing out this vlog. I don't remember what my last clip was, sorry, but it's currently Sunday night. It's about 8 o'clock Sunday night, so I'm about to go to bed. I've been distracted this afternoon with writing, and I finally got back out of my writing slump. I have been writing like my book and some other things, but like I finally got back into like role play writing. So I've been catching up with some of like the really old stuff that I owed. And today was actually the last day of the dollar sale at my local used bookstore. I ended up buying 10 books, 3 of which are not for me, they're for other people, so I'm not going to share them. They were cookbooks. But I do have 7 books that I'm going to share with you guys. Some of which, actually only 2 of which I haven't heard of. But again, I needed 10 books and they sounded interesting, so I picked them up to give them a try. The first one is Spun Out by Lorelei James. This is a Blacktop Cowboys novel. I don't know if I mentioned in my previous clip, but I needed to read more cowboy romances, but I didn't want like westerns, if that makes sense. This one is part of a series, but I'm hoping you can read it as a standalone because it's like book 10. So I'm hoping you can read them as standalones. I guess we'll see. But, yeah, so the thing I found interesting is the guy's name is Streeter, which is a name I had never heard of before. I don't know if it's a nickname or if that's his actual name, but it's interesting. So yeah, I think this is a single mom, or no, he's a single dad. He's a single dad. She's his new nanny, I guess. So it's a single parent nanny romance, which is hit or miss with me, but I decided to try it out. And then I got another one that is, I don't know if it's like actual cowboy romance, but it takes place in Texas, and it's called Hard Headed by Kim Law. This one is a renovation show, I guess, in Texas, competing on the wildly popular show Texas Dream Home. And they're both contractors doing a house. I don't know. Sounds fun. I haven't read any of these. And then I got some historicals. Last time I did the dollar book sale was Labor Day, and I got quite a few Lorraine Heaths. Every time I usually go into this bookstore, they don't always have Lorraine Heath, and they had a ton of them last time I went, and they still had them there when I went this past time, so I kept a better list of what I needed. So the first one I got was Beyond Scandal and Desire, which is a Sin for All Seasons novel. Now, I don't know which order these go in, but I just know that I'm missing these ones. And I have another Sin for All Seasons, The Earl Takes a Fancy. And then I got Between the Devil and Desire by Lorraine Heath. Here's the back. Sorry, it's so dark in here. I'm sorry if the lighting is atrocious. And then I got a Vivian Lorette. So I keep a list of books that on my historical romances that I want, like specific ones. Like otherwise, I have no idea what to get, because that particular store has just floor to ceiling shelves along, like there's a million of them, and I wouldn't know what to get. So I do keep a running list of books that I want, and this is the only Vivian Lorette on my list. The only one. I could never find it, but it happened to be right up top this time, and that's How to Forget a Duke, Misadventures in Matchmaking. I think this is an amnesia romance. This is the one where she's a matchmaker and she gets like shipwrecked or something and hits her head and washes up on shore and doesn't remember who she is. So yes, I do remember, I think it was Jess from Beasley Books talking about this. So that I got that one. So I need to start reading more historicals. I keep buying them because I go to that bookstore so often. That's usually the only thing I get there, because it's very rare that I find, I mean, I have found some gems, let me tell you, in their like trade paperback section, but mostly I just go for historicals because I find more of them there because they have more of them. But I need to start reading them, because at this point my shelf is overflowing. I'll show you kind of, you can see it. This is my historical romance shelf here, and I have books on the floor. I've got books piled on top. I mean, there's not a million of them like on the shelves back here. But I haven't read most of these. I do want to get rid of some that I have read or like have no longer have interest in, but I would like to read them because I just keep collecting them at some point. But I'm in the mood for like, at the moment I've been in the mood for like small town romances. So I've been reading a lot of like Catherine Cowles and Daphne Perry and stuff like that. Not a lot, but that's kind of what I'm craving right now. So yeah, so I'm hoping like these, or at least this one might tickle my fancy. But those are the books I got today for the last day of the dollar book sale. And that's going to be the end of this vlog. Like I said, it is Sunday night, so the week is over. I did finally edit and finish editing and post my Alabama vlog, so that's going to be out. I will link that down below because I mentioned it previously in this vlog. And again, this is probably going to be a super long vlog because I've been talking for almost 10 minutes already and it's ridiculous. Anywho, that's going to be it for this one. I hope to get back into the swing of doing these, especially now it's the end of the year and all the end of the year videos will start coming up. Yeah, I was going to do a wrap up and a haul, but I think I'm going to wait and actually do them. Instead of doing the end of November, I'll just do it for the end of December, do like the rest of the year sort of wrap up. Anyway, I'm going to go do what I need to do. I will hopefully see you guys next week with a new vlog. We shall see, but I hope everyone have had a great Thanksgiving and is looking forward to the Christmas holidays, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!